we're going to have to talk about that.
Steve's physics book.
Yeah, really.
You should have been paying attention to Uncle Steve.
I couldn't follow
already explained this to you.
I couldn't follow Uncle Steve.
Uncle Steve just showed up because he gave her that thought.
Uncle Steve. Good old Uncle Steve.
Oh.
Love that man to death. Okay, so I got us totally off topic. Okay, back to dreams. So that's funny that you said, originally you said that, you had these dreams, and then once you became more aware of your psychic ability, the dreams diminished. And it just occurred to me that I find that to be true, because all those years that I thought that I shut it down and I no longer had psychic ability, that's when I was having very vivid dreams. And my dreams were like I was watching a movie and I could see things happen, and I would wake up and those exact same things in the movie would happen. And like I said, only twice did I have to come to my own conclusion. I didn't understand the dream and I was completely wrong. So the more, once Sammy came to me and I realized that she also was gifted, and I went to your class and I told you that, I used to be, but I'm not anymore. And you had your little videotape. She really needs to find that little videotape and play a little snippet for you, because it is insane. And so that is when I decided that, maybe let me just give this a shot, and I just kind of opened up and I just let things happen however they may, right? And then I noticed almost immediately that the dreams that I was having, I wasn't having anymore. So things at first were a little startling to me when I was getting stuff, but as I'm gonna say it took probably a good 6 months where things were coming to me and it was just like, oh yeah, okay, whatever, I got it, so I think you're right. I think that so the people that say I never dream, maybe if they paid a little more attention during their daytime hours, maybe that's why they're no longer having the dreams.
Yeah. I do find that when I tune it out a lot, like when I'm busy at work or I have a bunch of stuff going on and I don't have time to pay attention to it, that's when I start dreaming a lot.
Really? Is that you too?
Yeah.
I would be curious to know, our viewers out there, if are you having this? Are you having this experience? Are you dreaming? I mean, are you having dreams where it's left up to your interpretation? Or are you having dreams that, like I said, it's kind of like watching a picture show. You can see everything and then boom, it happens. So I would be very interested to see what our viewers have to say about their dreams and what...
I do hear a lot of people tell me over the years that they always dream somebody's going to die. And it happens. Yeah. At least the people that are starting to acknowledge that they have some ability. That they almost don't want to dream and don't want to pick anything up, because they always say, every time I do, it's something I don't want to hear. But what I want to tell them is, for every one thing you hear that you deem bad, you're hearing 1,000 beautiful things and getting 1,000 beautiful dreams in between that you're not acknowledging. You're just acknowledging what shocks and scares you.
Yeah.
Which that's kind of like being in the moment and being mindful. We sometimes only focus on the fear in our life or the things we don't like, instead of acknowledging the little teeny things that love puts in our pathway that we should be acknowledging too. Well, then that way at the end of the day it's kind of all balanced.
Human nature is, though, that you remember the bad and you forget the good. But so that's funny. I mean, and I used to have very vivid dreams where people would die and I would wake up and they died like the next day. So that is a little on the freaky side. But once you acknowledge your gift, I remember the day I went home for Christmas one year and my brother got in the house.
Excuse me.
And it occurred to me that he's going to die, and that's not something that you want. You just don't.
You don't want to hear.
You don't want to hear that. That's not something that you hear. And I heard it, and it was gone. I was like, okay, that's And I went home. We went back to Columbus from Pittsburgh, and I got home, and we were like just home. Everything's unpacked, and I got a phone call that my brother had died. And when I got the phone call, that's when it like really hit me that, yeah, I already knew this. I was like, yeah, I knew this. And it was just, for me, it was just a moment that, the impact of what your gift is just truly amazing. That you knew that. But, I got the message. I knew it was going to happen. I let it go because that's not something that I wanted to retain. But once it became real, it just has an impact on you.
Now, you brought up lucid dreaming. Do you do that a lot?
Oh, all the time. And I think what freaked me out about the example that I gave earlier was that I knew I was dreaming, I knew what was going on, and I was doing things in my dream that, because I was lucid dreaming, but I could not wake myself up. And I guess that loss of control and not being able to snap out of it is what freaked me out.
And by the way, for those out there that doesn't know what lucid dreaming is, that's like when you're dreaming, and in the dream you say, hey, I know I'm dreaming.
Yeah.
This is cool.
But you stay awake. You're still in the dream, but you know you're dreaming. So you acknowledge you're laying on your bed or you're somewhere dreaming. Mm-hmm. That's when you, according to what's been written, that's when you wake up and become conscious in the dream. So then from that point forward, that is happening. It's really happening. So those of you that see your grandma and you're shopping with your grandma, passed away 2 years ago, but you, in your dream, you're out shopping with her, but you only acknowledge she's passed after you wake up. That's like, oh my God, I dreamed about my grandma, but you weren't thinking about it in the dream, only when you woke up. That's more about maybe you and how you feel about her being gone and remembering good times. But if in the dream you go, what are you doing here? Like in your mind you're thinking, what are you doing here? Or you passed. Like you know it in your head. At that moment, that's when you wake up in the dream, you become lucid. And from that moment on, all that really is happening. Some way, somehow, you have astral projected, they also call it that, and went into the dimension of spirit. So if you had a conversation after that, that really literally happened. And that's why we wake up from those and go, oh, that was so real. Why? Because it was. It was literally happening. So you can bank on anything that happens when it's lucid as being 100%. They're telling you that. Or yeah, they were there and you and them was talking even though they're passed away. Or like you said, you knew that was a legitimate, came from the spirit message to you.
Well, that's funny because I was going to say, I don't think I've ever had a lucid dream. And then I'm listening to you talk, and that that my mother walked up the steps, and I knew that my mother had already passed.
That's why I asked you that.
And then she stood right in front of me, and I just woke up.
Yeah,
I was like,
because it freaked you out. You were able to wake yourself up.
Yeah.
And by the way, here's the funny thing about dreams too, for you out there that think that you're psychic. Spirit isn't here just to help us. Sometimes we help spirit. Remember when I said not all the people that's passed away that's in the spirit dimension, ghosts, are here to be harmful. They're here to get help too. Mm-hmm. And sometimes we help them just as much as they help us. And I'm going to tell you how. My grandmother died. Now, my grandpa was the first spirit I ever communicated with psychically, and I seen him, and he told me my grandma was going to pass. Now, I was awake. I was like meditating. I seen him. But several years later, my grandma and me and him in the dream is sitting at a table like this, and we're talking. And like you said, my grandma was a lot younger, and she was showing herself with the big cat eye glasses, which she was way older than that, but she did that when she was like 40. But me and her and Papa was sitting at a table, and both of them was gone.